Hey gang, PrevJack here, and this is the second part of fixing the Greybanns. And in this particular video, what we're going to talk about are the TF2 game content type Greybanns. Now, if you've watched the other two sessions on this, the intro and fixing the SFM version of the Greybann, you'll notice that Valve has gone and changed a couple of the things in their game content. Okay, this is the original Greybanns. This is what is available in Source Filmmaker, and this is the new UV layout for the Greybanns that are currently in the game content if you extract the TF2 game content. Anyway, so what we have found out is that with the Greybanns, there are now 3 different styles. By going to the Team Fortress wiki, we can have a quick look and see what those 3 styles are. Okay, so we've got paintable frames, but the lenses aren't paintable. We've got paintable lenses, but the frames aren't paintable. And we've got paintable frames and the lenses are clear now. So if you happen to load up an old project and find that you've fixed the original textures and given them a higher priority than anything else in the world, you might end up with something that looks like this. Okay, looks like a Jersey cow. And what is happening here is that the game content mesh changes are trying to use the old materials, or your glasses will stay black if you try to paint them. It means that you haven't updated the actual textures to reflect the new change. So I've got the other 2 versions loaded up here as well, and we're going to have a quick look at these. So here are the scenarios. Your glasses will look like this, or if the case of the actual clear lenses, if you try to paint them, they will stay black. I have an override material on this. I'm going to send it to the element viewer. I'm going to expand the materials, find the paintable layer, and if I move my swatch around in the colors, I find that the glasses stay black. The lens painting, though, this particular texture works fine in Source Filmmaker. There's no changes that have to be made to them. So throw that in the element viewer. I've got an override material on it. I'm going to find the paintable layer, and basically the lenses paint fine and the glasses stay black the way they're supposed to, and everything is hunky-dory there. So what we have to do is we have to fix the original sweet shades material or texture, and we have to fix the style 3 type material as well. Let's get on with that. So where we have to go is wherever you have extracted your game content to. In my case, I keep it in a separate folder, and I've got a folder called TF extract, which is currently sitting in a file structure like this. If I go into search paths, what happens is I've got my TF folder with the TF extract sitting on top of it. That gives me the ability to use the game content. Then I have my TF movies, which gives me the ability to continue using the Source Filmmaker high definition models. or HWM models. And then I have another materials folder where I put all my fixes. As I'm working with, I've already fixed the original textures. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to rename this file because I intend on using the extracted models from here on in. So, but I don't want to lose the ability to fall back to the original format if I want to. So I'm going to go into this material fix folder now. Right here, and drill into that particular folder where I have the Greybann original material sitting, and I'm just going to rename that to something just to protect it. Okay, now that that's done, if I go back into my source filmmaker session and I load up the materials, do a reload of the materials, move the playhead, I should find that I've got the black glasses and the dark lenses. And if I try to paint this now, what's going to happen is nothing is going to work. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually pulling the game content type materials and textures from the extracted folder. Okay, so to fix this, what I need to do is I need to use an image editor that works with layers such as GIMP, Photoshop, Paint.net, or something that works with layers. Right here, I use GIMP because it's free and it's almost a Photoshop clone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the materials that are in my extract folder. So I got to come back here to Game, TF Extract. This is where I put my game content. And it's best to put it into a new folder now, simply due to the fact that with the changes that have happened to TF2, the actual game, when you import the game content into Source Filmmaker, and if you just throw it into the TF folder, it's going to like totally pooch everything up. So I like to keep my TF folder pure. This is all SFM original download material, and basically I leave that folder alone, and when I do my game extracts I put them into individual mod folders such as this. So here in my TF extract, this is where I've extracted all my TF2 game content. I'm going to go into materials, workshop, no, models, workshop, player, items, all class, and I'm going to find that I now have 3 different folders for the sweet shades, and what that is style 1, style 2, and style 3. Now, as I already pointed out, style 2 works perfectly fine. We don't have to edit the materials there. And when we go through and actually edit up and fix the style 1 glasses, we can actually use that material on the style 3 glasses, and we don't, you'll see in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to open up the actual texture. VTFs are textures, VMTs are materials. So here I'm back in Source Filmmaker, what I want to do is I want to find out what material is actually calling the textures for the sweet shades. And here in my materials with the override on and in the element viewer, I can see that this particular material, which is the VMT file, is calling the texture. So what I want to do is I want to open that VMT in a program like Notepad++. I have mine already assigned that when I double click, it automatically opens in Notepad++. So I'm going to double click on that. It opens up. And here, the base texture, what I'm seeing is that it is calling for models, workshop, player, items, all class, July 13 sweet shades, July 13 sweet shades, one color.vtf. Now that is the exact same path and file name as the original SFM sweet shades. So that's why I had to change to protect the original. So coming back into my extract materials folder, I find that particular VTF, and I have it automatically set up so that when I double click on a VTF, it opens in GIMP. So I'm just going to double click on that. And GIMP should load the material, and here it is. Holding down the control key, moving the mouse wheel, I can zoom in on the actual material, see what I'm working with. And basically what is happening here is Source Filmmaker does not read textures the same way that the TF2 game does. When TF2 game calls a paintable material, what it says to the game engine is anything that is white on a layer mask, and I'm going to show the layer mask here, anything that is white or gray is paintable. Anything that is, and I will apply paint to that material and show it in game. Well, Source Filmmaker says something different. It says if the layer mask is white or gray, then anything underneath that layer mask that is white or gray I'll paint and put paint on it. And as you can see here, this is the main layer. There's no white or gray other than that little gray thing here, which is the clips here, and they stay gray anyway. There's no white here, so there's nothing to paint. And this is why the actual materials stay black when you try to paint them. So what we have to do is we have to move this whitish material from the layer mask onto the main material so that the paint will flow through and that area would get painted. So here we go. This is what we have to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to disable the layer mask. I'm going to turn on the edit the layer mask, and I'm going to show the layer mask. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that layer mask and I'm going to create a copy. Okay, and the reason for that is that some of these materials, when you fix them, what you have to actually do is merge stuff down onto the actual material layer. And as soon as you do that, what happens is the layer mask disappears. And I'll give you an example of that right now. So here I've got, I'm going to make a new layer from visible. And I'm just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to turn off show layer mask. And I'm going to turn off turn off edit layer mask. So now my main layer is selected. I'm going to right click on this copy that I just made, and I'm going to merge it down. See that? Automatically, as soon as I merged it down, the layer mask disappeared and I no longer have it. So this is why I make a copy of the layer mask. I'm going to Control Z out of that to get back to where I was. Okay, now to fix this actual material, what I have to do is get this onto the main layer. Okay, so selecting this layer with a right click, I'm going to make sure I have Show Layer Mask turned off, Edit Layer Mask turned off, and Disable Layer Mask turned on. I'm going to come back up to this layer that I just created, and I'm going to pick up my Color Select tool. Okay, now that I have that selected, I'm going to select everything that is black. Now, you may find that if you zoom in on this stuff, you're not getting in quite close enough or where you want to be. One of the things that you can do in this case is actually come into your tool options panel and ramp up the tolerance of what is being selected. So I usually go about a 28, somewhere around there, 27.6. Now I'm going to reselect, I'm going to click on this and select it a little bit more, and I get in a little bit closer to the actual textures. Okay, now that I have that black selected, I'm going to right click on this texture. I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to invert the selection. Now, instead of the black being selected, everything but the black is selected. I don't want to bring all this stuff down to that main layer. I just want to bring this white stuff down. Okay, so what I have to do now is I have to go in and select my free select tool and start cutting out pieces that I don't want to transfer. So holding down the Control key, it turns it into a minus the selection, and I can just go around and I can pick up the stuff that I don't want to transfer and turn it off. Down here, zoom in on this. I don't want to bring this in. Holding down the Control key, a click, 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 click. Okay, so now everything that I have selected is white, or this white area. I could turn this off, but this is not part of the actual mesh, so I'm not really worried about it. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this texture again, edit, copy. Then I'm going to come down to the main layer, make sure it's selected. Again, make sure that Disable the Layer Mask is turned on, Edit the Layer Mask is turned off, and Show Layer Mask is turned off. And I'm going to right click on the material, Edit, Paste. Now if I did everything right and I turn off this layer here, what I should see is nothing but that white stuff that I want to actually transfer, and anything that was left on the original layer, main layer, that I want to retain. Okay, so this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. So now I'm going to right click on that floating layer and anchor the layer. By anchoring the layer, what it happens is it doesn't delete the actual layer mask. So now this visible layer is no longer required. I can actually delete it. Now that this is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the layer. I'm going to turn off disable layer mask, and with all three of the layer mask options turned off, I'm going to export this into my matte fixes folder following the same pathway as what was in the original extract folder. Okay, so basically here and here, what we had was game, TF extract, materials, models, workshop, player, items, all class, and sweet shades. This is where we grab that actual texture from. So my path in my materials fix folder has to be the same. So let's get material fix. Material fixes, materials, models, workshop, player, items, all class, and it's coming out of that sweet sage folder, right? Which is why we wanted to protect the original. Remember I said that this was the exact same file name? Okay, so this folder already exists. What I can do now is I can go in here and I can actually file export and go into that matte fixes, materials, models, workshop, player, items, all class. And if this folder did not exist, I could create it here by clicking on create folder, and then I drill into it after I create it and save this VTF as the original name. Now, because this texture actually has alpha in the actual texture, you want to make sure that alpha is turned on, and I usually save my textures as 7.04 type VTFs. Okay, now that that is actually done, what I can do now is go back into my source filmmaker session. As long as my matte fixes is in my search paths. Come on, get out here. Edit search paths. My matte fixes is above TF. It's above the TF extracts. So any of the fix materials are going to be found first. Come in here. I do a matte reload all materials. And all I did there was, because I'd already used the command once, all I had to do was push the up arrow key and it comes up. Push enter and wait for it to finish. As soon as the console gives you something like this, it's done. Move the playhead and look at that. Lo and behold, we have paintable glasses again. Okay, now let's have a quick look at this paintable glass though. If I move all the way up to white, they almost turn white. If I move it down to black, they kind of stay gray, and that's not what we actually want. And why isn't, okay, I'm going to do a reappend here. Utilities, reattach to model. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, okay. So the black doesn't actually turn black, and the white doesn't actually turn white, and the reds are a little bit off. So are the rest of the colors. So how do we fix that? Well, basically we have to go back into the edit the materials mode. And what is happening is the paint is filtering through on the layer mask. and it's picking up all this gray stuff that we really don't want. Okay, then it's coming down and it's filtering onto the white portion, or the grayish white portion that we put in the main layer here, and it's superimposing that darkness onto the actual material when we load it into Source Filmmaker. How we fix that is we have to edit the actual layer mask now. Okay, so I'm going to select the layer mask. I'm going to enable it. I'm going to show the layer mask, and I'm going to make sure that I'm editing the layer mask by turning on those two options there. Once again, I'm going to get my color picker. Okay, and I'm going to click on the black because I want to make sure that I get all the other areas when I do the invert. Okay, so now I'm going to right click on the texture, select invert. So now these white areas and the gray area are selected. Anything that isn't black, I'm going to grab my free select tool again, hold down the control key, and I'm going to cut out the stuff that I don't want to change, which would be the lenses and this gray area down here. Hold down the control key. And now that this is the only thing that is selected, I just might turn off these guys too. So hold down the control key. See if we can get in here close. I really don't think that these are painted on the actual model, but you never know. Okay, now that I have just this white area, whitish gray area selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the paint can again, come over here to options, I'm going to select fill hole selection, and I'm going to drop this as a pure white paint right there, just like that. So now I've got this white area, I got this semi-gray area, and this area on the layer mask. Come back in here, turn on the show layer mask, turn off the edit layer mask, and I'm going to re-export those textures back into that material fix folder. I could go export and replace them, or GIMP actually remembers the last file that I saved, so all I have to do is click that. Come back into Source Filmmaker again. Do another matte reload materials, reload all materials, wait for it to finish. Done. Move my playhead, and now my textures are actually showing up in the actual colors that I want them to show up in. White is white, black is black, and I have everything in between. Okay, so that's got that material fixed. Now we have to fix the actual Style 3 glasses, and what they are right here. These are the ones that have the clear lenses, and the frames are paintable. Well, because they are using the exact same materials, it's just a different writing in the VMT, what we can do here is we don't have to do any other editing. All we have to do is create a file path the same as what is in our TF extract folder. So come back here to all class, come down here to July 13 Sweet Shade 2. This is the path that we have to create. So in our material fix folder, I have 2 sessions of Explorer running. My material fixes folder. I come back to all class. All I have to do now is add another folder. I'm going to copy that folder name and come in here, do a file, new folder, and drop it in there and create the folder. Come here into the Sweet Shades, pick up that material that we just finished editing, copy it, come back into the Sweet Shades S2 folder and paste it. Okay, so now we've got that in there, and if we look at the actual material name that is called by this frame, so we have to throw that into the element viewer with an override materials turned on. Expand the materials, find the one that is actually paintable. Go into the TF2 extract folder and pull up this VMT, or wherever you have your TF2 content extracted to. Like I say, mine's in TF extracted, materials, models, workshop, player, items, all class. And right here, I want to grab this particular VMT, S2, that one, open it up, and I see that the name of the actual material being called is July 13 Sweet Shades S2 1 color. So I'm going to take that, copy it, go back into that folder that we just pasted that Sweet Shades copy in, click on it, Control V to paste the name, hit enter. Now when I go back into Source FilmMaker and I do a reload all materials, Matt reload all materials, hit enter, wait for it to finish. As soon as I get that, I move the playhead and look at that. This is now paintable as well. And whites are white, blacks are black, and everything in between. So I now have all 3 styles of the Greybanns paintable as per the wiki, TF2 wiki page. Black lenses with paintable frames, or green or whatever they are, paintable lenses with black frames, and paintable lenses with clear frames. That's all there is to fixing the Greybann material. Hope you find this tutorial informative. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, with that, I'm going to say, Private Jack out.